Things Musicians Don't Talk About is supported by the Royal Society of Musicians. Since 1738, they have been providing vital financial assistance, advice, and guidance to music professionals unable to work due to accident, illness, stress, or anxiety. Whether you're working as a performer, administrator, technician, or teacher, and everything in between, they're there to help. If you know of someone in need, you can contact them in confidence by visiting their website, which is www.rsmgb.org, or you can contact them by ringing 020 7629 6137. Support their work by becoming a member or donating today.
Hello and welcome to Things Musicians Don't Talk About with your hosts Hattie Butterworth
And me, Rebecca Toll.
Within our vibrant musical world, it can often feel that the struggles and humanity of musicians is lost and restricted.
Having both suffered in silence with mental, physical and emotional issues, we are now looking for a way to voice musicians' stories, discuss them further and to connect with the many others who suffer like we have.
No topic will be out of bounds as we're committed to raising awareness for all varieties of struggle.
So join me, Hattie and guests as we attempt to bring an end to stigma by uncovering the things musicians don't talk about. So thank you very much, Paul, for coming on the podcast today. For all of our listeners, this is Paul Denegri, who is my old head of brass from Wells Cathedral School. Well, even at that time, you were like head of multiple things. But how are you doing today, Paul?
I'm okay because I'm in a lovely farmhouse in Somerset, just chilling. Somebody's lent me this for a few weeks just to chill out in. Well, actually I'm working. There's the classic do we ever switch off? So I'm good actually. So yeah, it's beautiful outside.
Amazing. So for people that don't know you, although I'm sure a lot of people who do listen will know who you are from just Wells or whatever, could you just give a brief overview of, well, I guess who you define yourself as now, and then we'll go into your kind of musical upbringing.
So who I am now. So you mean as in what my job, what I'm doing?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, so I'm suppose what they call a multi-faceted musician. I think of myself as a musician first and a trumpet player second. Trumpet's just part of a corps, but that was never the intention. Can I tell you that? But my dad gave me a really brilliant bit of advice when I was about 19. He said, if you're going to go into this, and he wasn't a musician, he said, you need to go into this like a war with a machine gun, not a rifle. So you're going to have lots of skills, otherwise you're not going to earn a living. So it was my dad that opened my eyes to fact. I was just heading down like trumpet, job in an orchestra, that very naive thing, and nobody ever told me this is going to be really, really tough, and why didn't you open yourself wide and you'll be a better human, let alone earn better money. So I'm now a multifaceted musician by accident, literally, because so I adjudicate masterclasses, I teach, I write, I compose, I songwrite, I play guitar, I do the trumpet, I do all these different things.
Yeah, for however long I've known you, you've always had multiple things on the go. So tell us about where did it start, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I always say, I don't know whether you remember I said this at Wells, I would be packing eggs if it wasn't, I was quite a naughty boy in primary school. And so I just wanted to be a goalkeeper. That's all I wanted to do. And I would just muck around. And my dad was ahead, so he kept getting called in. It was a bit embarrassing for him, and because I was always mucking around doing something I shouldn't be doing. Because I hated school. I just didn't like it. Didn't engage with it. Didn't connect with it. Didn't see the purpose of it. And chance of me being goalkeeper, 0. Just as much 0 chance of me being in the LSO, 0. And then I was at one assembly. I was down the front again, having been naughty. So the headmistress pulled me out. And I sat in the front with all the year ones who are tiny, and there's me, taller than all the rest. And I remember her putting on some music, and Mrs. Brown was her name, and I could even remember the brooch she was wearing. It was such a moment. And then, and at the end, she had an old Bush record player. She put the thing on, the needle, and all that stuff going on. And it wasn't loud music. It was really, really quiet music that came out. And then suddenly, from nowhere, this trumpet went like this. And I was literally like age 11. I was like, what the heck is that? You know, I don't know what it did. It's like a little Bunsen burner or gas boiler went off. Something went off. So she sent the rest of the school away, and as usual, kept me behind. So I wasn't getting the whole Denegri speech. You know, Denegri, you cannot behave like this at age 11. You know, when you're going to grow up. But I kept saying, Miss, I'm not interested. Can you just tell me what that music is? Can you write it down on a bit of paper? So she wrote down this. I didn't know what it meant. So I went home to my dad, who tried me on recorder, voice. Oh, he tried me on everything as an amateur musician. As I went home, I said, Dad, I want this piece of music on record. And interestingly enough, I also said, I want to know what it looks like on paper. Because it was just out there. I don't know where it was.
Yeah.
So my dad just went, oh, my son. He was like, yeah, he's like this wayward child has suddenly come home. And then, you know, it was Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony, first movement. And then there came a purpose to my life. I know it sounds really cheesy, but that's exactly what happened. What do I need? So I need 5 GCSEs, right? I better work at maths. I better do this. It's funny. That's how it's happened. So I just set off on that real trumpet route, aged 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've still got the score, and I've still got the record. Yeah, I've still got both.
That's amazing.
Still haven't played it, and I still haven't conducted it. Isn't that weird?
Would it ruin the magic?
Very good question, because it's the one I want to do. I don't know. Yes, because I'll probably be scared about making mistakes, and I'll go into some weird zone and I'll disconnect from the motion of that music. Does that make sense? I'll be going to trumpet playing mode.
Yeah.
And I'll be more worried about that. And then I lose connection with the actual motion of music. So you're right. At the moment, it's just magical to me.
Yeah, it's out there, an abstract thing that you can't quite grasp.
Yeah.
So then from age 11, you kind of took it more seriously. Then you went to music college?
Yeah. So I just went down this very, very narrow trumpet route. And actually, but I'm bubbling underneath with songwriting and rock music, big time. Huge. And actually that was probably bigger, if I'm honest. But when I played the trumpet, of course, I got music. It gave me you got applause, didn't you? My parents thought it was okay. You know, everybody thought I was good at something rather than this wasted guy that just was going nowhere, going to pack eggs. Denegri's going nowhere. You know, so the trumpet brought credibility where rock music wouldn't have done. You know, it was all the thing you didn't do. You know, it's the sort of it's a wayward life, which is rubbish, of course. I mean, it's not that life at all. But I sort of locked that away secretly, but kept it going. And did this whole trumpet business, but very narrow. It was only trumpet. And everything had to be related to trumpet. So GCSEs, A-levels, the only reason I did them was not to learn anything, just to jump a hoop.
Wow. And then how was your experience at music college? Like, did you enjoy it? Did you find it difficult?
Do you know what? To be perfectly honest, I look back on it as a waste of time, a complete and utter waste of my time. And actually, when I look back at it, what I could have learned, what I could have done, looking back on it, hours and hours and hours of doing nothing, you know, and it was like go and practice for 5 hours a day, go practice. That's why you're not doing anything. And I've sort of got really strong views about it now in a way, because why 4 years? Why did I go through all that expense? Why, you know, you could have done it in 2, what you gave me. There was no direction. There was no careers advice in those days. There was nothing like that. They didn't care. And I would skive. I wouldn't. A few things I did. I never went to piano lesson hardly. And I met my tutor once in the lift. Well, my mate said, "Oh, you're Paul. This is hi Paul." And he said, "Oh, you Paul Denegri?" He said, "I said, yeah." I'm Letty Stewart, your tutor. You haven't been for 6 months. But nobody cared. It was like weird. It didn't matter. You know, who cares about you? I don't really care about the fact you haven't been. I don't really care what's going to happen when you fall out at the end of it. And there was no attempt at being realistic about things. Trying to find my strengths. You know. Hours and hours doing orchestral excerpts, and then no real sort of what's Paul's strengths. Let's draw out Paul's strengths. Where is his strengths? Where is his where is his weaknesses? Where can we help him? None of that nurturing or care at all. It was I just wandered through it, if I'm perfectly honest, and it's just such a waste of an exciting time of life. And it was almost like you had to be, you know, man up. You know, if you can't cope, sod off, basically.
Yeah.
You know, it'll find you out, and it's good it's found you out. Oh no, it doesn't work like that, I don't think.
Sounds like it would be disappointing, having been that excited about trumpet and then getting there and it being like, oh.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, looking back, disappointment, total disappointment. Yeah, totally. And I know it was easier for me. I guess it's easier for me at school as a head of brass, but you could have done a lot more for the students than they did. You know, it just felt that, you know, it was a sort of bare minimum, really. It could have done a lot more interesting in creative stuff, actually. I remember being just kind of scared all the time in the orchestra, just like, but there was nobody. I don't know what it's like now so much, but there was nobody to go and talk to, and nobody to, you know, it's like you either survive or you don't, you know. And you almost had to change your personality to survive. And that's not good. You've got to be true to yourself at the end of the day. Otherwise you end up unhappy. So it was almost like you had to become this battle-hardened, no emotional guy who was going to just go through this, whatever happens. So yeah, it was disappointment for me.
Then what happened after the 4 years? What happened when you came out the other side?
Well, I don't know what I mean. Like I think a lot of people, I just fell out. You go up on your graduation day and you got your gown, which I refused to buy.
Nice.
But I just fell out. Literally just walk next day, 5th of July. You'll yeah, nobody ring, nobody. I think you hear this story a lot actually. And I just sitting in the summer thinking, well, what do I do now? And so you're just picking up the odd date and you're picking up your thing and you're trying to open doors and nobody's really told you how to open doors. Nobody's helped you do that. You're just scrabbling around thinking, and then of course you become disillusioned because you've just put your whole life onto this. So I was gigging around London. I did London orchestras, a bit of freelancing. So I worked in the BBC Record Library for a year. I just got a job doing that because they allowed me to go and gig, and then I just got fed up of this. 1 month, great money, and then nothing next month. I thought, I'm never going to, rent properly or buy a house or had it. So I thought I'd get a job, a full-time job. And that's when Wells came up. I saw it advertised. And so I put in for it. Well, my mum told me to put in for it. I wasn't going to put in for it. I said, look, I'm only 23, for God's sake. I'm being taught, let alone taught in one day in Tunbridge Grammar School, girls' grammar school. That's all I'd done. This is head of brass at a specialist music school, for crying out loud. So my referee was my trumpet teacher at college. And I said, can you be my referee? And he goes, Paul, you don't stand a chance. My referee, you don't stand a chance of that. And my mum was like, you got to do it. You just don't know. You just do it for experience, which is good advice. Just get used to doing an interview. So I turned up, did the interview and got the job. Now, I think they were either I was cheap or desperate or both. Because to this day, I don't understand why that happened. I really, really don't.
Wow.
And what was interesting was when I felt, they do you offer the job, and I fell off the chair. I was like, God, I think I nearly said, you've got joking, but I thought better not. And then when I filled out all my acceptance stuff, and they said the salary, they said your qualifications aren't worth anything. They're not recognised. You're going to have to start on the same salary as a domestic. So I started on the same salary as somebody who cleans the bedrooms in the boarding houses.
Oh my God!
Less than 6,000 a year. Because so you've gone through all 4 years, you've gone through all that practice, you've gone all through all that, and then you find out that licentiate and a fellowship isn't the same as a degree, and it is not worth anything. So that's how I got that. Yeah.
Wow.
But I was certainly cheap.
Yeah, that's actually ridiculous. But then you moved from London to Somerset.
Yeah. Just literally uprooted and moved to Wells. Yeah.
And then what was it like starting, having got this job that you were like, you got to be joking. Then I can't even imagine the first day there being like, what the hell am I going to do?
Well, oh God. Well, I can remember my first day because you probably remember those specialist music meetings. I felt about 10 years old. And then, because people know me because I've got long hair, but I cut my hair really short for the interview. How naive was I? It tells you. Thought, what does teacher look like? A tweed jacket, tweed tie. And you know me, I'm all leather jackets and all that stuff. So I turned up my first day in a tweed jacket and a tweed tie, my really short hair. And that, of course, that's not being true. What I've learned in life, that you've got to be true to you. And I wasn't being true to me. So anyway, I was standing there thinking, this is what I have to be like now. I have to be a head of brass. I've got to be this responsible kind of person. I've got to look like a teacher. I've got to look like this. And I remember the specialist meeting at the end of the first day, I just standing there. And of course, these people with all their degrees and whatever, Cambridge degrees and university degrees and eminent musicians or whatever. And you go down the line, they've got any announcements. And of course, the head of strings would have fantastic announcements. Head would win fantastic. I'm at the end of the line going, I've got absolutely nothing to say. And what the hell am I doing here? And he goes, this is our new head of brass, Paul Denegri. And have you got anything to say? And I just remember going really red. I can remember going boiling hot. And I thought in front of about 120 pupils, all looking at me silent. I've never done this. I've never even spoken to a group of pupils before. And I just went, voice shaking, can I see all the brass players afterwards? That's all I could think of. And of course, what I didn't realize is afterwards 2 turned up.
Oh, wow.
Tuba and a horn player. That's all I had. So we sat in my room and I going, is this it? And they go, yeah, we're the only 2 specialists. And we've only just arrived ourselves in year 7. So there was no brass department. And then the head saw me about the next day or 2 days later. He goes, so Paul, just a little brief on you. Your job is to make the brass as good as the strings, who'd just done a world tour. like New Zealand, Australia, Malaysia. I said, I've only got 2 kids. He said, you'll find a way.
You did find
Totally
a
out
way.
my depth. And then Alan Hutt was a trombone teacher, a really eminent player. And I thought, he came in for his first day, and the first thing I said to him is, Alan, I can't be your boss. I'm 23 and you play with the RPO, the Beatles, English National Opera. And he goes, he was so lovely, as you know, and he goes, you are my boss and you're going to be good. And he was just really calm and lovely. So I said, you've got one piece of advice. And he goes, yeah, just don't bring your private life, into school.
Wow.
Always be the same. The kids don't deserve, they need that stability. They need whatever you're feeling like, just be. And I remember it, just be Paul, but always be that. And I've never forgotten that to every lesson I've ever taught, whatever. There's been real horrible stuff gone in my life.
Yeah.
But you don't show it. And they don't, it's their one chance, he said, for their time with you. And he said, if you're true to Paul, he said, you're going to be great. Lovely, Alan. Eh?
That's so amazing, because it's like, you're such a personable person. Yeah, and it's not that you were telling us everything about your life, but yeah, it was really authentic. And I think that felt like the secret kind of ingredient to all the brass teachers at Wells, was that they were all just very real with you.
Yeah, and I'm really pleased. I'm really touched you used the word authentic, because that's quite important to me.
Well, yeah, that was going to be my next question. Like, at what point did you feel that you could go from the tweed jacket and the tweed tie to being back to the long hair and the leather jackets?
Good question, because to be honest, and this might be a bit controversial, but I just felt a lot of my time people in the music business weren't authentic to me. And I'm not blaming them, because they're just caught up in this whole thing that's just been organically grown like this. But I just thought people weren't, not fellow students, but other, people just weren't authentic. Every time I went anywhere, I didn't realize it at the time, but I do now. People were so, I can't reveal anything about myself, and there has to be this persona, and it has to be the way that professional musicians are, and and you don't share it, you don't do it. And this is why I love your podcast. You see, I think it's such a great breakthrough, because people weren't authentic with me, and it had a deep effect on me, because it just ruined it. I suffer from confidence still now. People are amazed I suffer from lack of self-worth, but it's true. And it's because I think if we'd shared more and people had shared, I would have thought, oh gosh, you're just like me, and I just thought there's something wrong with me, I'm too sensitive, I'm too emotional, I'm too, I'm not good enough, I'm not a good enough player, because I don't love the trumpet. I love music more than trumpet. I mean, it's all that bit of, I wasn't obsessed with the trumpet. I liked it, but I wasn't obsessed by it. But I thought everybody else was. But I've come to realize they're not actually. So authenticity to me is really important. And I just remember thinking at Wells, I owe it to every pupil that ever comes across. It doesn't have to be a brass player. It can be a pianist, anybody I come in touch with at Wells, who talks, or I even say hello. I've got to be me, totally me. Apart from, as Alan Hutt says, just keep your private life. If you're having a bad time, don't put it out there. But, I'm going to be totally me.
Well, yeah, it always came across that you were so genuine, and for such a prestigious school, it was such a comfort that my teacher and my head of department wasn't, not prestigious, but didn't act like, airs and graces, as you say. But you said you got in trouble for it.
Well, trouble as you do, but I mean, I just, I refused to wear a gown, and they kept saying, "Where's your gown?" And I said, I'm not going to wear a gown to cathedral services and end of time. I'm not going to do it in a polite way, because I just felt we didn't need to. I don't know why we need to. It was look at us, we're learned, and I've achieved this, and I've achieved this, and I'm learned, and I'm above you, and somehow. But I just felt it was like, you don't need to do that. To be a good teacher, you don't need to be a good head, to be a good headed bomb. You don't need to put a gown on to prove anything. So, of course, it was things like that. And the fact I didn't quite conform to the look, let's put it like that, And I do generally think, well, I don't work there anymore, so I'm quite happy to say, I didn't get opportunities that other staff got. Other staff would told, go and do a talk here, and we'll send you here, and we'll send you off to here, and we'll send you off. They didn't. If I went anywhere, it's usually because I opened the door to go and do it with the brass players. That's why I did it. I was very rarely sent off by the school to go and represent them. You should be smart at work. I get that, but it was a very set way. And I'd get emails saying, Paul, I saw you without a tie, and I was like, how old am I?
Yeah, it was this sense of like othering. You're right. It's like this like learned. We are academic musicians, and we are training you to be XYZ.
Exactly.
What interests me is how you kind of reconciled your experiences with further music education and teaching students. So many of your students went off to music college. Was there an element of like, but I hope they don't have the same experience as I did, or I'm going to try and teach them in a way that is completely different to what I had?
Yeah, I mean, I just on the authenticity, just as you said, that came to mind. I didn't even feel I fit in the orchestra because of the way I looked.
Wow.
I think it's changing now. I don't know that you're not judged on the length of your hair, or you're not judged on with the color of your hair. Or I mean, I felt like completely, having done this route and wanted to be like that I just didn't, people look, you could see the way people look at you. You could see, well, get your hair cut. Well, what's that got? I think quite, and I have my hair cut every month. You wouldn't believe it, but I actually do. And that's the point. I always have. I've always had it cut because it's long, so I keep it. You know what I mean? It's what's so bizarre about the whole thing is I probably look after my hair more than other blokes do. You know what I mean? It's just.
For sure.
But I always felt that authenticity. I had to fit. I had to fit that rather than. Do you know what? Music, and what's so weird is music's such a widely emotional thing.
Yeah.
It's such a free spiriting thing, music, isn't it? But then when you're a performer, you gotta be classical world. I think that's why I identified with the rock guys and girls, because the guys and girls in rock music just do what they do. They get up on stage, they do what they do, love it or hate it. But classical music, I was having to be bolted in. It's like it's part of this machine. You have to conform. You have to certain things you can say. You can have certain opinions and not other opinions, and so I know. Yeah, so because I used to. A lot of my pupils went to music college, which is the irony of ironies. I think I used to say, I don't think I ever said, sure. I just wanted them to follow. It's a good question. I'm sure I've never been asked that one.
No, really?
It's a really good one because I think I did. I probably did say, I hope I did, think about university, think about other things. I hope I did say those other things. I hope I did open other doors and not just hothouse and, because I never looked at it like statistics, like, oh, great, I've got 90% into music college and I've got 26 scholarships to Royal Academy. Oh, I got that stuff. I was never into that. It was never about how that validated me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, in a way, and it sounds really arrogant and it's very unusual for me to say this, I didn't need the success of pupils to validate whether I was any good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I suppose because as you were as a student, like coming from that aspect, you kind of knew actually it didn't matter that I went to music college because it was a waste of time. So I'd rather have the students have a good experience than get in somewhere that they're not going to enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's this need thing, isn't it? I need to go because I've done it for 6 years and I've given up a lot of my life to practice and I need to go. I've got to do it. No, you don't have to, And it's a sense of failure. A lot of musicians do it because to say I don't want to do it anymore. Big moment to turn around and go, do you know what? I don't want to do it. You don't want to be a classical. You don't want to.
What a shame.
Whoa, you're giving up this amazing life. We're giving up. You've got some amazing talent. You're so gifted at that. Well, I was never gifted at the trumpet, but you're so gifted. And of course, that's pressure. And you go, oh gosh, I'm gifted. I ought to do this. It doesn't matter if you're gifted. If you don't like it, just because you're gifted doesn't automatically mean you love it. I might be gifted at making sofas. I don't know, but it doesn't mean I want to do them. It doesn't mean I might sit down and make a sofa and be really bored, but it'll come out brilliantly. But it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. This thing that you're gifted, therefore you've got to do it, and you should be. I just wanted them to do what they wanted to do, but also wanted them to discover what they wanted to do, and that was key to me. Not what I thought they should do.
Well, again, it's this thing of like you're giving up this amazing life, and it's like, well, it's not amazing for me, and that is almost blasphemous to say I'm not enjoying it, and then people. Are just made to feel like, oh, wait, maybe I'm the problem if I'm not enjoying it.
Exactly. But I've learned over the decades that they weren't enjoying it but they couldn't because they're paying their baked beans, I remember one trumpet teacher said to me, Paul, when you do it as a living, it becomes a completely different thing. Because I was like at college, I love it. I get all emotional. I'm like, and he said, I'm off to Japan. I said, I'll be to do Tchaik 6 or something. I said, that'd be great. He said, when you be to Japan 10 times and you play Tchaikovsky Symphony 30 times, it doesn't mean anything. You just do it. It's a job. It's like, I couldn't believe it. I was horrified. Like, it'd be great. But I kind of get those little messages were there. They were there. Little messages were there. Yeah. So yeah, it's that guilt feeling that you got to say, do you know what? Don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a thing around your neck, isn't it? You're really talented at it. therefore you're mad not to do it.
Yeah, it's your duty to society to do this thing that even society doesn't appreciate.
I mean, I used to say that at Wells a lot. I used to say, we say, oh, Wells Cathedral School, lovely, all that, and it is great, and it is a bubble. But no, but Joe Bloggs and Janet, Fred and Bert and Blackburn don't even know it existed. They didn't care. They wouldn't care if we didn't have a specialist music school in Wales. They wouldn't care. They'd go, well, that doesn't affect my life. You can sometimes feel in the music world that everybody loves it's this thing, and people don't like people saying that, but that's the truth.
I'm really interested in your role as head of department, and music schools are notoriously difficult places. And how did you balance your kind of pastoral role and role as a, somebody who does not the numbers, but like, the admin side of things and teaching? And I don't know, did it weigh heavily on you that you had all these people kind of under your care?
I enjoyed the pastoral bit actually more than the trumpet teaching bit, to be honest. I enjoyed tutor group more than, I like teaching the trumpet, don't get me wrong, but I enjoyed the pastoral bit more actually. Yeah, I was more interested in people's lives. I'm more interested in them as people, not how many, somebody getting, I remember a boy getting 3 GCSEs and I go 4, and they said that was great for him. He was terrible academically, but that was an amazing achievement for that boy.
Well, yeah, as it feels like that's quite a tricky position to take in such a prestigious place of education, and it always felt like you were fighting our corners, but again, it was always a fight.
Yeah, because I was there are good traditions and there's bad traditions. There's traditions that hold us back, and there's traditions that are good to hold on to because they've been worth their value. You can see them. But I just thought so much of it was just because we've always done it like this and we've always been like this. Therefore, we're not going to change. It's worked. I used to say meetings, but it hasn't worked. You got these pupils unhappy over here. You can't say it's worked. Oh, yes. And it's almost like it was their problem.
Yeah.
No, it's not their problem. They're looking to us to support and help and understand and listen and all those things that don't have exams on, listening, all that stuff, listen to them, you listen to what they got to say, find out, because if you listen to them, you'll find out a lot.
Well, particularly in the music world where you actually often don't feel safe sharing with teachers or people above you or people that you feel are kind of in control of your destiny at that point. That's really special.
It is, yeah. You don't say the right thing, don't do the right thing, and this person can stop me from working in an orchestra, or get me to, and that is relevant. It's still, but you're right. It's that the danger is the power thing, isn't it?
I was going to ask how you talked a bit about low self-worth and not feeling like you're the best trumpet player, and how did you look after your own needs alongside this position of looking after other people?
Okay, that's a brilliant question. I've never been asked that. I do quite a few interviews. I've never been asked that one, and I think it's a really, really important one. You see, because I'm going to be brutally honest here, and so people say, "Paul, you're amazing at this," or "Mr. D, you're an amazing teacher, amazing composer, you're amazing." I am still to this day don't think that, and I really don't. You know me well enough to know that I've kept every thank you card I've ever been given, because I thought if somebody takes me time to write to me, I've kept every single one for 35 years. I've got boxes. I mean, that's really arrogant. They're just tucked away on a little shelf, nicely there for one day when I'll read them again. And in there, you changed my life. All that stuff's been written, and I never ever thought it was any good. And it's a real problem. I've had to have counselling for it. I've had to have help because I just can't see it. It's like they're talking about somebody else. I come back after a gig, it's awful. I can't beat myself up. I beat myself up after master classes, after adjudicating, after everything. Sometimes if I get it, I think it's gone well, I shudder. I literally recall myself adjudicating or playing the trumpet or standing up and giving a talk, and I shudder like that. Oh, that's horrible, what I can see of myself. And so it's been a real struggle for me, because everybody's saying this, and I don't need that validation. I'm not after that. I don't, and that's felt I'm better if you don't do that, because in a way it makes me think, does that make sense? So and it's difficult because I wanted them to feel good about themselves. I wanted to feel confident. I wanted to feel secure. I wanted all the things that I didn't feel. I didn't feel any of those things. There's something I've never said publicly before. And so when I had counselling, people were saying, well, why can't you just teach yourself? It's like, be Mr. D to you. And I just, I've never thought it's good enough. Never, ever felt I've been good enough. And honestly, in all honesty, I've always thought I've just been the nearly man.
Mm.
And that is not, I'm trying to come to terms with that now, at age late 50s. You know, I've always been the nearly man. And people say, you've got honorary degrees, you've got this, you got look at Paul, you look at your website, you've done everything. I've always just not quite done it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to do with the way the profession is and the way it's just never quite good enough. And you know, you never, people are always finding something you've got to improve, or you can improve, you can improve, you can improve. Instead of just enjoying the moment for a few weeks or a month and saying, bloody hell, Paul, that was amazing. You know, you need, you know, I don't know what it is. I'm not quite sure, but I've learned it's nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? This is stuff. Yeah. So I've picked this up in the music profession. And now I can see some battle-hardened musos going, yeah, well, that's because you weren't suited or because you didn't get up. No. There was something about the music business that's made me think I'm never good enough.
I feel that as well. I feel that it's partly because like success as a definition has to come from you because nobody else has set the definition.
Yeah.
But then if you already feel like you're not good enough, then setting your own definition of success is going to be really hard.
Yeah.
And you're more likely to just always put it slightly out of reach. And then people can be like, oh no, but look at all these things that you've done. And it's like, but it's not up to you in this profession to say what's good and what's not. But I kind of wish that it was somebody else's job to say, okay, when you've done this, then you can feel good, or when you've done this, you can have a rest. Yeah. But it's not there.
It's never there. You saying that's like, that's never been said to me, ever. You know, ever was that ever said to me, you know, like, and so in counselling sessions I've had, it's like, boy, that's great. And I would say, what have you done this week? So I did, and that's great. And now I go, oh yeah. And they said, you're always wanting one bit more, the next bit. Why don't you just relax into what you've done and achieved and, you know, and just stand back and look at yourself and go, God, I did that. I'm always on to the next thing. And I think musicians are. I think play a gig, it goes well, write a composition, it's good. You think of the next thing. I did this charity, you know, and so I've raised £2,500 in a month. I don't think that's good enough. And somebody wrote to me, Paul, that last sentence I said, oh, £2,500 in a month. I want to get to 5. And they wrote to me and said, that's nonsense. What you've just written there is nonsense. And it is nonsense, isn't it? You know, from nowhere, I've set up a charity and done all this stuff. And they go, that's nonsense what you're saying. But that's typical musician, I think. It's like, done.
Again, it's like, where did £5,000 come from? Like, I don't know, sometimes I'll be like, oh, you know, I've done this thing, but if I could do this thing, then exactly. I'd be happy. But it's like, I've just plucked that out of thin air to make myself just have this thing that's, again, out of reach. And then once I get that thing, or if I don't get that thing, that's going to be even worse, you know. Exactly.
Where'd you stop?
Yeah.
And only you end up heart attack retiring and then looking back and going, what the heck, what was that all about?
Yeah.
You know, to be all honest, you know, I stand up and conduct any rehearsal at Wells, every master class I've ever done, anything I've ever done, I am bricking it. Absolutely going through it. And I'm not joking. Used to walk down to Symphony Orchestra on Wednesday afternoon going, oh God, I haven't looked at the score enough, I haven't done this enough, I haven't done that enough, going to get found out. You know, you can't get away with a funny story again, Paul. You know, they're going to find you out. They're going to find you out, you know, right up to the moment. And something happens once I get on that into the now doing it, and it all goes and it happens. And then as soon as it stops and I'm in the car and on my own, the ruminating happens, then it all comes back. So this is kind of weird thing, you know.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like, sometimes I'll experience that and I'll be like, but then which one is the real me?
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
totally.
Is this like flow state the true me? And I've just like, music has enabled me to get there. Or is that just like an anomaly? And the rest of the time when I'm stressing and freaking out about everything, is that me? And I've come to the realization that they both are.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, magic that creates that like moment of calm. And that's almost more empowering to be like, well, then the stressing and stuff is still something that I can work on because it is still me.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done.
Easier said done, but I'm interested in how we become like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite open about this. I said everybody thinks I've got everything. I don't see that at all. You know, the struggle that goes in before and afterwards is huge. And you just think, why am I putting myself through this? Why? Because it's all you know, Paul. It's all you did. You know, it's all you know. You're a musician. That's what you do. And you don't give it up. Don't give it up. Because can you imagine if I give it up? Imagine what people are, Paul Denegri's given up. He loves it. He loves every second of it. No, I don't love every second of it.
But
No,
then do you think there'd be a group of people that would be like, yeah, he was really busy all the time. I can understand that he'd just want a break.
yeah, you see, yeah, because I 24/7, well, not 24/7, but yeah, I'm every single day, even in this lovely farmhouse. What am I doing? I'm working all the time instead of just chilling out. I'll be working. So yeah, I think it would be, yeah, I think there would be quite a lot of people go brave decision, good guy. If that's, he's done his bit, but then I don't like that idea. I've done my bit, so my life's over. Isn't that funny?
Because you've achieved that success.
Yeah, but if I stop now, I think, well, that's it, my life's over now.
Yeah.
What do I do? Because it's all consuming music, isn't it? That's the other problem. I think it is all or I learned somewhere that it had to be all consuming. You give your life, your soul, and everything. I mean, I heard that at all sorts of places. Staff stand up and say that. Got to be your bread, your butter, your liver. I used to stand there thinking, no, it hasn't. It doesn't. In actual fact, if you build rockets and you go off to walk your dog and you do it, that actually makes you a better musician. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that it has to be your whole life? You've got to no, it doesn't actually have to be like that at all. In actual fact, you'd be a better musician, better person if you did other things in your life.
Yeah. And
it's...
all this like 24/7 craziness.
Yeah.
I feel like it has had some negative effects on you.
Yeah, like things like never turn a date down. If you're free, take it, because you don't know when the next one's bonkers, absolutely bonkers stuff when you think about it. So you're knackered, you're working at Wells all 8 till 5, and then the show comes in for 2 weeks, and you think, oh, yeah, take it, because I might not get it again. So I'll take it now. I'll take the money now, or somebody else will sit. I'll turn it down. Somebody will sit in there, and that's crazy. You're not looking after yourself. You're looking after. I don't know what you're looking after, but you're not looking after yourself as a human being. And that's all drummed, isn't it? Take the date, take the date, take the date. It says Sundays, Saturdays. Instead of saying, looking back and going, no, really busy week, don't need that. If I lose it, I'll lose. Somebody else comes in and plays better than me, then I lost it. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It's a different world.
Would you be happy talking about some of your health problems towards the end of your time at Wells?
Yeah, very happy to talk about it. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know details, but it felt like you just completely crashed from doing everything. Is that right?
Having been head of brass, they restructured. So I was really happy with the job I was given. Actually, I was head of music performance. I was like, wow, love this. I can just be, just going. But it was huge. It was massive. I don't think anybody knew compared to the other roles that they did, like head of visiting staff or head of whatever. To be head of music performance at Wells Cathedral was like 350 concerts a year or something ridiculous. And of course, me being me, went to every lunchtime, every gig. I was like, if the pupils are playing, I'd go. Violinist, oboe, bazooka play. I didn't know who it was. I'm head of performance. I've got to be there. I've got to support them. I've got to be there, backstage and all that stuff. So it was massive. But I was really pleased with it. I like that role. I thought it was really good. I thought this is a good change for me. And I could have done the brass forever. I still had ideas and visions, but I just thought that's not a bad thing for the brass department. It's not bad. I've done it for 30 years. Not bad that change of there would be good. And I was still involved. And so I kept doing the job. Yeah, I kept turning up and doing teaching. But I did crash. Yeah, I crashed big time. Yeah, inside I crashed hugely. And that's why I had to go in the end. I went for my health. Yeah, that's why I went. Definitely. I thought, I was told by doctors, just you got to go. You got to look after yourself. It's like, whoa, what do I do? Yeah, but they said, Paul, you're trying to sort things out. It's not happening. This has gone on long enough. And I've been in intensive care, as 7 years before. And then I went back to hospital 2 years later. And then I had pneumonia. And then I had a heart scare. And I went turning this wheel, gigging, playing, writing, Wells. Couldn't stop. It's on the wheel. Because I actually do love it when I'm in the now. I'm loving it, you see. So it's a bit like a drug, isn't it? You're loving that. So I just remember thinking, right, I'm going to resign. Just leave.
It's a huge move. I mean, it's almost too literal of like giving your life to music, isn't it?
I'd given it all. And I know that sounds very dramatic.
No.
Literally. So I would go 9 weeks without a day off. I still, I don't want to, listening going, oh, it's a sob story.
It's not.
Just fact. I go 9 weeks without a day off. And I literally teach on Sundays. I teach Saturday mornings. I do a gig on Saturday morning. And then I do 17 hours a day. So I teach at Wells 8 till 5, take my kids home, feed them, and then go straight to the theatre. at 7, get home at 10, be writing out parts, doing composition stuff till 2 or 3 in the morning. I wrote 4 musicals at Wells, and I literally gave my life. I just literally gave it. If anybody's said, what did I do in my life? I gave it to music.
Exactly what you've been told to do.
Exactly what I've been told to do. Is you've got to give it your life and your all, and it's if you're going to be a success, it has to be the most important thing in your life, and it's wrong, because I've now realized you don't have to do that. By that time I was just so programmed. It was just like it's too and because I'm multifaceted, it went against me in a way.
Yeah, I guess the combination of being able to do all these things and not feeling like good enough at any of them just meant that you just had to keep doing them all.
Because I was doing these different things, and I was okay at it, and it happened, and people liked what I did, they'd ask me back.
Yeah.
So I was being asked to do things on multiple targets, if you like. Yeah. Of course, it was coming in all the time, which a lot of people might be listening to. God, I'd love that, but you're not looking after you at all. I got lost. I lost me. I lost who I was. Completely. Or true, that authenticity went.
Yeah.
I became Mr. D, the limited, if you like, company. This guy that.
And then I imagine it was an incredibly difficult journey to move out of that zone of, Mr. Denegri, limited company.
Limited company, and you look at all the car legend and all that stuff I've had, and it's that makes me shudder. It's like, no, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I helped you, and I wouldn't change it. That's good. I'm glad I did my job, which was right. But because then I left thinking, well, I've always had a big freelance diary on top of a full-time job, so I thought, well, I've got enough here. And then, of course, COVID struck 3 months later. I didn't know what was going to happen. When I took that decision, no one saw that coming. Otherwise, I'd have hung on for another couple of years and got a full-time salary and stayed at home. But of course, so I lost everything. Literally, I went from nutty busy to zero. I mean, nothing happening, because I wasn't at Wells. So I wasn't even doing online teaching, I wasn't doing anything. So that was really, really hard, actually. Yeah, because I had to learn to be with myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hours and hours and hours on my own with myself, and that's really difficult when you're not done that at all ever. So that was discovery time. It still is, still going on.
It's like a kind of baptism by fire into the new life of balance. It's like you're doing everything, and then you're doing nothing, and now it feels like you found a bit of a happy medium, maybe.
I'm a great believer in reinventing. I do believe in that. And over the time at Wells, I did reinvent myself. So I got rid of I walked out. I set the jazz up and ran all the big band for 25 years. I walked out on it just at the height. Just felt I had to reinvent myself a bit. I was getting known for one thing, and I thought, so I'm a great believer in reinventing. I love people who reinvent themselves. I think that's amazing, where they just go through something, good or bad, whatever it is, and they reinvent themselves. I've got so much respect for that, and not saying, well, this is what I am, I've always done this, and I'm going to do it till I drop. People go, do you know what? I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to reinvent my life. So I had to reinvent me. People think I'm bonkers. I do a lot of stuff. I thought I was going to give back, is what I thought. I know that sounds really cheesy, but I thought I'm not going to do stuff just for money. I'm not going to take things on I'm going to do things that actually I don't get paid for with music. So as you know, I do care home and dementia work, and I conduct the Wells City Band for nothing. And in actual fact, the care homes often, I go in 2 hours, 2 afternoons a week. They said, well, we should pay you. And I said, don't pay me. For God's sake, don't pay me. You start paying me, my brain is going to do something different. I'm going to try and get every note on that guitar right by that bedside. I know that's daft, but I will. If you start paying me. So I've turned the money down. And, say with Wells City Brass, I said, don't pay me. I don't want. I think it was really just discovering emotion of music for what it is. And I actually love the stuff I don't get paid for.
Isn't that interesting?
Absolutely love it, because I'm just there, and I'm more. People say, "What's your greatest moments in music?" Well, it's actually sitting by bedsides. It's not playing South Africa or San Francisco or things I did. Or my greatest musical moment is sitting by John's bedside, and him telling me, play it again. You're my hero, and and he dies 2 weeks later. I mean, that's my greatest musical moment. Is that somebody said that is it? Me with my guitar. They just connect emotionally with music. What music's all about, And I've always said that Wells, wasn't it? It's always about music. Don't ever lose the emotional connection to what it can do.
It's come back to your original kind of mission of people first.
people first. Yeah.
Yeah, the work in the care homes and
Yeah.
just sounds, after such a kind of traumatic or like a bumpy journey, you know, it feels like the perfect thing to rekindle your relationship with music and people.
Both. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think people think I'm a bit bonkers doing all this stuff for free. You know, you're Paul Denegri, you know, honorary REM and all that stuff. And I'm great, thanks. I mean, when I got the honorary thing from the REM, I didn't tell anybody. And I know other people get them, and it was all over the magazines. I've got this. I got it in the letter at school. And I go, I'll be given honorary. I was chuffed, but I just stuck it in my pocket. I was really embarrassed. I mean, can you believe that? I didn't tell anybody for 5 days that I got an honorary thing from the Associate for the Royal Music for services to music. Didn't tell anybody. I just couldn't do it. I just thought I'm really embarrassed because I just thought, I don't know what I've done. What I've done is not that special. Why am I getting this? And in the school, like, Paul, can we put it in the magazine? I said, no, I don't want it anywhere. You know what I mean? It's really interesting. I think it's worth it. I don't think what I've done is valid.
And what would you say if you had a student that felt this way? What would you say to them?
Oh, you see, you're really good. Okay, so I would be saying, you know, if you've earned something and people want to respect it and show it, thank you, and say you're amazing for what you've done, and we want to recognize that. You should rejoice in that. You know, you should, because you've earned it. You must have done something, because I think you must have done something. If somebody just writes you a thank you letter, you must have done something, because people don't write unless they really mean it. You know, that's why I've never thrown one away, because people have taken the time to write to say thank you. So, you know, that's what I'd be saying to them, and use that as a validation that what you are doing is what is good, as long as it's true to you and what you're doing. Yeah, that's what I'd be saying.
It's so hard to take that in, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is very difficult. The care homes is really interesting, because I'd never set foot in a care home ever as a professional musician. I never even thought of doing it. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I saw. So my dad went to a care home and died in a care home. So I'd never set foot. So one day my dad got dementia. Basically, I should travel 3.5, 4 hours to see him, and I couldn't go very often because of music. There's other girl. I watched my sister go through coma, and I would not go and see her in Chelsea Hospital because I had a gig. I mean, what the heck is that all about? I thought, I've got to work first. I mean, that's bonkers. My dad was the same. I didn't even learn from my sister. Hey, Paul, put this on the back burner, you know? And I remember my sister dying, and then 2 days later, a week later, I'm taking the Wells Cathedral School Big Band to Scotland tour, because I said I was going to do it. I've said I'm going to do it, so I've got to do it. You know, it's just bonkers. I was in a state of grief. Next minute, I'm driving a truck full of gear up the motorway to Edinburgh. Like, what is that all about?
Oh my gosh.
Because I thought, I've said I'm going to do it. You don't let people down. You don't let them down. You say, who? If you don't conduct the big band, Paul, who's going to do it? Well, somebody would have done it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, so many people could have done it.
I know, but it's like me. I don't want to let people down. You see. So my dad. Anyway, I went one day. My dad. It would take him 20. I'd go, and he wouldn't know who I was. You know, he just had not a clue. And he was the guy that got me into music, of course. And so then one day I went up, and I saw him, and he goes, "Hello, Paul." I couldn't believe it. He said, "Hello, Paul. How are you?" "Oh, lovely to see you." And I thought, God, Dad, you actually know who I am. But, you know, anyway, I said, "Dad, you look great. You look really happy." And he goes, "Yeah, I am. It's been a good day this morning." We had 2 singers came into the camp because they didn't have any music in their camp going on. In their camp they've got, because nobody goes in. So, because people want to be paid. You know, that's why and so that, you know, and the care homes just don't have the money. They just don't have the money to pay 50 quid an hour for somebody to go. Anyway, so my dad goes, "Hello." And he said, "Yeah, these 2 singers came in. They sang to a karaoke thingy." And he said, "Paul, they were absolutely awful." He said they were absolutely awful. They were dreadful. I said, "Oh, sorry, Dad." Like this. He said, no. He said, "Actually, it was great." And I'll never forget this. And this was it was like a year 7 moment, you know, it's year 6 moment. He said, "No, it was great, Paul." So he said, "For 1 hour, I forgot I was getting old. And then the next thing really got to me, really, really got to me. And he said, I also forgot that I'm going to die here and not go home." And he said, and I just thought, oh my God, for 1 hour. So that means for 23 hours of that day, all the time, he knows even though he's got dementia, he knows he's never going home. He's going to die here in a care home. And that music, just however awful it was, he forgot it. He just forgot he was gonna. And I've had that quite a lot. And so I'm driving up the A303 going, feeling ashamed. I can tell you, guilt, anger that I remember saying to my head, where the hell have you been, Paul? Where the hell have you been for 33 years? You've got these skills and you've not thought for one moment to go in a care home. But I bet if a care home phoned you up now, you said, Paul, can you come play the guitar? We'll pay you 50 quid. You go in and do it. And of course, the answer to that is self-searching is yes, I would have gone in. I'd have gone in. Yeah, okay, I'll do that for 50 quid. I'll go and play to a bunch of old people and I'll walk out an hour, 50 quid. Great, that's done. I'd have done it. Why have I get quite angry now? Look, why have I not done that for free once a year? And what's even more shocking going up the A33, my dad loves music and I've been going to visit him for a year. I did not take the guitar, did not take my trumpet, did not suggest recordings for him to sit. I did nothing musically for him at all. And I got all these skills. And I drove up the motorway going, I'm not joking about it, utterly ashamed of myself. So you're happy to be paid for it. You're happy when people clap you. You're happy when you get a bunch of flowers. You're happy when you get the wine and your thank you cards. You love all that. Why are you doing it just for that? Why have you not thought, do you know, I'm just going to do this and I don't care. People who can't clap me, they can't give me a bottle of wine, they can't give me another gig. We often do gigs because we want to get, I'll go and do that gig. I don't want to do it because I might get more.
Yeah.
You're not going to get another gig. You're not going to you might get a little thank you, but I would have done it for all those reasons. But hey, but Paul, you can really help somebody's mental health in the last 3 or 4 weeks of their life or the last month. You could really bring them some joy, but we can't pay. Oh, really sorry, I can't do that. And it really got, whoa, you know, I've been sitting in a specialist music school and I've been in orchestras and all this. And that's why I struggle with people saying, you're a legend, you're a great guy, you give. Yeah, I give when you get, you know, I don't give, not really. I didn't think in my book, I really gave, that's giving. And I thought, you know, and I remember discussing it with people in pits and stuff. They go, oh yeah, Paul, but I said, well, why don't you just go once a year? Go for an hour a year, just do it. You know, so I decided, and I also decided driving up the 303, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to keep doing it. I'm not going to be one. A lot of people have ideas and they do it for a month and 2 months and that's it fades, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the trouble is and I thought, God, we're all going to be there, every single one. If we're lucky to make it, I'm going to be lying in a bed, unable to move or walking around. And I'll be jolly glad if somebody sat in that by my bedside because that would be the only visitor of the week. And with the oboe or the French horn, you know, and so I started this whole thing. And I thought I can't take the trumpet really by bedside.
Yeah.
And there comes the whole thing. What am I going to play? Irotunian trumpet concerto, Haydn trumpet concerto. Oh my God, Paul, you can't do it. None of that's relevant.
Yeah, they don't care.
No, all these people have got about to die. That's totally irrelevant. You can't play the Haydn. Everything you've learned on the trumpet, you can't do to help. So that's why I got the guitar going and singing going, because I thought I could sit there and sing and badly and play the guitar and connect with them. So that's my greatest musical moments are there in those moments, you know. And that's what music was designed in the first place, to emotionally connect to something. I always say there's soul you can't touch and music you can't touch. That's why they're the perfect partners, you know. But we lose touch with all that. You forget because it all becomes like, I'm too scared, I'm frightened on stage, what do people think of me? Oh God, that whole emotional connection is gone. That's why I love it. And the City Band I love because they all come out, it's their hobby and they love it. And it's their social life. And
it sounds like you got, really, really meaningful things going on.
Yeah, it's a journey. You have to look after your heart a little bit because I talked to some of the nurses there because I walk away thinking, I've done it for 14 months now. I started to go around, I've got to live my life every moment, every second. Got to enjoy it all. Oh my gosh, Paul, be happy. Don't get down. It's raining. Doesn't matter. Love the rain. All that stuff. And it's like, no. It's impossible to live your life like that. Yeah. That's what it did to me. So I thought I can't waste a minute or not enjoy a minute, but you've got to be realistic and go.
There's only so much. So if people want to find you on the internet or connect with you, if something's resonated with them, where do they find you?
Yeah, I'm really happy to talk. Yeah, very happy people want to email. So they can, with a name like Paul Denegri.
That's true.
You know, to stick it in the Google, and my website comes up straight away.
Amazing.
So if you just put Paul Denegri on Instagram, anything like that.
Amazing. And you do have your own podcast as well. Would you like to plug that?
Well, yeah, there's a bit of I haven't done one for 5 months. You come on mine.
But there are some amazing ones in the archive that people can check out.
Yeah. The other one is on its way. Yeah, it's just that life got really busy and it just gets pushed back, you know. So
wait, you're telling me that you're busy? No way.
So there are 8 episodes done. Yeah, I was trying to do one a month. I did it for 8 months, and then I haven't done one since August. So I need to. I know it's. And actually, I was thinking about it this morning. So, and of course, you come on and do a thing called the bubble wrap, which is really lovely. So that's that lovely connection about well-being and looking after ourselves. So yeah, the Young Musician Matters podcast. Yeah.
And the last thing we usually ask our guests on the podcast is there a little win of the week that you've had, or something in the recent past that you feel proud of? Or yeah, it could be the tiniest thing. I was going to say that my win of the week is I actually invested in some nice conditioner, because I like to treat myself with like having curly hair. It's a problem, you know. I mean, as a hair looker after her, you understand.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good win. That's a good win. Yeah, well, it's not quite in the last week. It's like last 2 or 3 weeks. Is that all right?
It's perfect.
Okay, so I've had a leather jacket.
Yeah.
That's been with me for 35 years. But
the jacket.
Leather jacket has, yeah. It's been to loads of...
The one.
The one, yeah.
Oh
35 years it's been with me. And it's still going strong. But I just thought, because I spend a lot of time looking at rock videos and go to a lot of rock gigs, you know, that's a bit of a weird thing with me. It's like, I go and see all these bands I love Scandinavian rock, don't I? German rock. It's huge over there. It's hard rock is huge over there. It's not so big here, but I quite like it. It's not so big over here. So I do daft things like go to Cambridge in the evening and back to watch a band called Heat in Sweden, or, you know, I'll literally go to Wolverhampton and back in the evening just to watch a band in the club with about 300 other people, you know. Although I am going to see Ozzy Osbourne, because I haven't seen him for a bit, so I'm going to go and see him.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. So I do this stuff. But anyway, there's a certain jacket. My one is what they call the Marlon Brando one, where this big chunky thing. You probably remember it, and it's been to every gig, everything. And I noticed a lot of the bands wear the thinner ones, you know. Mm-hmm. But I can't afford really, I can't justify it. So I went off I was just happened to be a charity shop in Glastonbury, I think it was, yeah. And I was just killing time for some reason before the came, actually. I just thought I just walked up the street and I'll go in this charity. I didn't know why I was going in there. I was like, I'll go in there, you know. And there on the peg was exactly what the one I wanted. But also not new, broken in, you know, because I wanted it to look new.
Oh,
new.
Yes.
And I looked at the ticket and it was like 65 quid. I was hoping like charity shopping for 12 quid. I felt a bit bad about this because I went up to the woman at the desk and said, "What's your best price on this?" And I thought, this is cancer research, Paul, for crying out loud. I'm just saying to everybody, go and give your time. This is what I thought in my brain. I just thought, you've just spent your bloody life going, do you know what? You need to give your time. And now I'm in a cancer research shop saying, what's your best price? Pay the 60 quid, for God's sake. Don't. And then I backtracked and I said, whoops, I shouldn't have said that. She laughed. She said, well, you know, I'll phone the manager. I said, no, I'll pay 60 quid for that. I said, I'll be looking for that. So that was my win-win.
That's brilliant.
And I love it. And I haven't worn the other one since. No, because I feel more comfortable in this one now because it's a bit more what I wanted. Yeah.
It's your new jacket. The next 35 years.
Yeah, and that was my win-win.
That's amazing.
Big win. Huge win for me.
Literally huge win. Everybody always comes on with these huge wins, and I'm there like, I bought some shampoo.
Well, no, it depends, isn't it? What your huge win is, you know.
I invested. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for your time.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.